Okay, so third time's a charm, they say. This is the third time I've tried to record this. So let's get into it. This is Robert's photo that I stole off him basically and decided to edit to see how far I could push it. So this is the raw out of camera image. Not a professional camera. So let's just see what we can do with it. So the first thing I'm going to do, it's actually kept the settings. Alright, so that was the original, this is the original photo here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that post out of the way. It's not adding anything to the photo. There's a bit of blue sky up, like dead space up here, so I'm just going to pull that down about there. There's a rail here from the jetty that Robert was standing on, I dare say, or resting the camera on, because in this his tripod broke, the poor bugger. So I'm just going to lift that up and get rid of that rail, and I think that's about it. Right, so let's set our white balance. So we can just click the eyedropper and click anything that should appear white, and that'll reset all of our white balance. Right, so I'm going to see how far I can push this photo, what Lightroom thinks are the optimum settings. Highlights down, blacks, exposure. Alright, so I normally do that just to see what we've got. So let's go back to tone and let's open her up in Photoshop. Alright, so we're in Photoshop. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new layer mask. Control J or Option J on the Mac. And then I'm going to go filter, actually I'm going to do shadows first. Lift that up, bring that down. Now because it's the third time I've done this, some of those settings are already in place. Let's leave that there. Bring the highlights down a bit. Radius, mid-tones. Alright, create another one, and we're going to adjust the exposure. I don't normally adjust the exposure slider itself, but I normally do the offset. See how you can just clear up that. It's almost like you can clear the dirty atmosphere, if that makes sense. So if I put that back, if I give it a bit, see how you got that like smoky haze, and then you bring it back too far. About there, and then we can lift it just a little, about there. So we've already given it a bit of life. So the next trick I normally do is called high pass. And what high pass does, I'm going to cancel that and I'm going to zoom in so we can actually see a bit better. I want to be up here because I actually like this part of the photo. So let's go other, high pass, and you'll see that it just basically defines the outline if I lift it just a little bit more, like if I go mental, you essentially bring the whole image back. But just keep an eye on this little bit here. See how we're just probably get away with 6, I think. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. Overlay. And now if we zoom out, right, so with that high pass, if I turn high pass off, on, so you can see just how much sharper it makes the image. If you look at this detail here, off, and it's quite soft, it hasn't really got defined edges. Turn it on and just bring some nice sharpness out. Now, as I said, this isn't a professional grade camera, but it doesn't mean you can't get professional results. Right, so let's flatten all that down. Center the photo again. New layer mask. Selective color. Saturation. This is a preset that I've actually recorded or saved. So if I go through the colors, this basically sets 100% saturation on all colors. So reds, the cyan is opposite, so negative 100. Yellows, yellows is set to plus 100. Green, set to negative. Magenta is the opposite of green on the color wheel, so negative 100%. Cyan, plus 100%. Blues, yellow is the opposite, so negative 100%. And magenta. Magenta, plus 100%. So basically, just gives 100% saturation. From there, you can actually go to the opacity and just bring it back to something that resembles normality, I guess. And then if you want to go further, you can just pull the fill down a little bit. Let's just pull that back up. I actually do like my bright colours. Everybody laughs at how much colour I put in, but essentially I try to mimic what you'd actually see in a magazine, like the professional photographers from magazines. Okay, so let's flatten that. Just want to get rid of this while I think about it. So I'm doing the healing brush, and we just want to paint that off. And there's nothing else I don't think I need to paint off. No. Alright, so back to the hands. Let's create a new layer. And we're going to go to the Nick collection. Nick collection is a set of tools that was made by Google. You can still get it for free, or you can get the new one that is maintained and updated. I've got the free one and I just love it. So we're going to open that up, and I'll just go through a couple of these settings. But it's just amazing what you can actually get out of it. So let's just get rid of that. So this is the main image. It opens up in another window. So what we want to do first, I normally try to start off with Pro Contrast. So you've got correct color cast, correct contrast, and dynamic contrast. Dynamic contrast is by far my favourite. Like, look at the difference in that. Just, for me, it just makes the photos just pop. Contrast. Now, it's funny, like when you push contrast on a normal photo, you just lose so much detail. But with this Color Effects Pro 4, with the Nick collection, like you can just push it and it just looks amazing. Correct color cast. No, I'm leaving that as 0. Alright, so let's go for, but the ones that I've got marked yellow here are my favourites, but there's so much you can do in here. So for example, if I go zoom in on the sky, you can see the green in the sky. If I go dynamic skin, this is what they use for weddings, for skin colours, to take wrinkles and moles and everything out. So if I select the sky and give that a little bit, you can still see the grain. And if I get rid of, I can just smooth that right out. Now it's only going to affect the blue, it's not going to affect the clouds. So before, after. And even cleaning up this little white fragment around the flag that was probably created by the high pass that we did earlier. So that just cleans it up quite nicely. If we go back out to 100, we've just got a nice clean sky. Back right out, and just, yeah, beautiful sky. So the other thing that I want to do is I want to do another dynamic skin softener, and this water down here. Now the problem with this is that we're actually going to get some of the jetty legs. So let's change that to the gold. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to put in some control points. So with the control points, you can actually basically say, regardless of the colour, do not touch these areas. So let's put a few of those in, because I don't want the upper, I basically just want the water affected. And we can go overboard, that's fine. From there we can actually expand that right out, and we can flatten all this water as if you were using a ND filter. So if I just went 100% everything, just to give you an idea of what it does. And we're getting a little bit of green in here. I'll just pull it back. Alright, you should be able to see that. I'll zoom in to show you anyway. So that's with it on. And that's off. So it just takes all those little ripples out. And that's how you get that soft water look. Now of course I'm not going to leave it at 100%, because I do want a little bit of that ripple. I just wanted it just a little bit softer. And that way you get almost that reflection look. That'll about do it. Alright, next filter we want is polarization. I don't know whether I'll keep this one on, but we'll have a look and see what it does. And this is where I used to make the mistake. I used to put like clouds, the sky that dark, and it just, even though, like, I don't mind that, but it just looks so fake, it's not funny. Especially when you get so much light down here and it looks like nighttime up there. So it's almost like, yep, it is breaking on sunrise and then it's nighttime. So it just doesn't match. It's not what you'd see in real life. So I'm just going to pull that down just a little, and I actually like what that's doing in here. It just gives a nice contrast. Like, it's not too much. Probably about there. Could probably get away with that. Come down a little. Yep. Alright, next I wanted to do the Glamour Glow. This is also used for like models, portraits, and it just gives a bit more concentration on the main subject. So if I turn it off, on, essentially, like, what I've found is it basically darkens the outside, colours the middle, but don't take my word for that, it's just what I notice. And I think we're going to leave it off in this instance. Alright, so we'll OK that. So this is before, and it's just going to go through and save it. I'm running a 4 or 5 year old laptop, so even though it's been pumped up with an SD card and high memory, it still runs a little bit slow when you're dealing with decent sized images. So you can see just a little bit of difference, just brings it alive. So if we go all the way back, it's starting to get there. So next, what we can do is we can do our levels. This is a histogram, so basically we can do our darks, or we can lighten it up. Now I'm just going to lighten it just a touch. I don't know if I want to do that much on the whites side, but you can see that little spike there where the whites have been blown out. It's probably due to this bit here. I don't mind that. So let's flatten all that down. Right, so now I'm just going to go into our camera raw filter. It's very similar to Lightroom, but I just prefer doing it in Photoshop for some reason. I don't know whether it's placebo or, but it just seems, you just seem to end up with a better, well, in my mind, a better image, better result. Dehaze always darkens the image. I think I might have to let the computer catch up a bit. Yeah, there you go. You can see it, how it darkens the image. So fantastic tool, like absolutely brilliant. But you just got to be aware that through your editing, you've just got to keep a light image in case you want to dehaze. Blacks. You can pull out the underside of that pear a little bit more. Don't really need to do much with the whites. shadows we've already done. Highlights, you can give it that really washed out look, but I just really enjoy the colour. This is an easy way to do your curves, so I could have done the levels here, and I could have done the levels here as well. So it's pretty much all the same as a duplicate. It's just what you find, what you like more. But I've ended up with my little workflow, and it seems to, yeah, I'm happy with it. Detail. How far can we push this? Don't mind that. Let's just have a look at that bridge element. It's not looking too bad. Radius. Detail. I'll have to go further in. Not quite that much. So we'll just want to have a look at these pylons here. So if I push that right up, you can see the grain starts really coming into it. So we want to basically go back to the point where we don't have that grain. Radius. Alright, so this is still looking half decent, unless the computer's just running slow and it's about to blow out. Noise reduction. Right about there. So if you look at like this little area here is what I'm focusing on. Don't get me wrong, I'm also looking at these areas, but I'm focusing on this little area here. And just trying to get a nice image. And I know like you won't even see that on the screen, but if somebody wants to print it out to a decent size, it still should look quite nice. A little tiny change. About there. Right, so go full screen, press Alt, mask, and we can apply it just to the light areas. So all the black areas will be ignored, and that way we still get our soft sky and the soft shadows. And you can go further than that, probably about there. I don't mind that. This I normally do in Lightroom, and I'll show you the reason why. The highlights, little trick, press Alt and it just does full saturation, and you can sort of get to a stage that you like that doesn't look too bad. So you let go, and then you can adjust your saturation from full and just put a little bit of that blue back in. And then shadows, same thing, press Alt, hold down. That looks like a morning look. Keeping in mind that it's full saturation at the moment. That's looking quite natural. But then you got blue on blue. So what I like to do is have them as opposites. And I probably will turn this off because it doesn't really need it. I'm just showing you the things that that I normally look at and experiment with when I'm looking at photos. So I don't think we really need that. So I'm just going to reset all that to normal. Keep working through. Vignetting I normally use, but right at the end. Calibration. That was one thing that I wanted to look at, was the horizontal, not the horizontal, bear with me a second, the aspect. I think I did that in Lightroom. Yep, no, we'll do that in Lightroom. Alright, so the other thing I normally do is Control J, filter. Part of the neck collection is a define element. And basically it's just a very, very fine reduced noise. So if we have a look, like it's super fine. It might be too fine for this image, even too harsh for this image, because we've already done a slight noise reduction. It takes a little bit of texture out of that pole there. I don't think we'll need it on this one. Yeah, see this bit here? You can see the texture of that moss, but if you fade over it, it just becomes a green blob. So no, we're not going to use that on this one. So from there we can just go File, Save. It'll flatten the layers for us. Well, not flatten them, but it'll save with those layers included. So we're back in Lightroom. We've got the original and modified. So from here, what we can do is, actually let's line that up first. So if we have a look at that one there, or do we use the top of the roof? Let's go to the top of the roof. So you can press on the angle. So instead of sitting there and trying to line it up like so, we can click on that angle and we can actually go to the roof and we can draw a line, and that'll give us our perfect angle. Because I was mucking around with twisting it around, I'm going to have to Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. That's back to where we were. And now we can do the angle. Did that actually take? Let's try that again. I might actually use this ledge right here. I don't like that either. You know what, about there is where I actually want it. So now what I normally do is go in and use the adjustment brush, bring that down in size, click, use color range on the range mask, select our color by clicking on the range selector, the color selector, click back in the range mask, bring that down just a touch, and then I'll bring the exposure right up just so I can see what is being painted. And I want to go out, and it should just paint the bridge, so we're not affecting the flag or the sky underneath it. But we're getting a little bit down here though, so let's bring that back a little and then grab the erase tool and just flick along here so that we're not changing anything else but the bridge. Now you could use the selection tool here and sit there for ages, but I just find this a little bit easier. And I'm trying to like speed this up a bit so you all don't get bored out of your brains. Right, so now that we've done that, we've got the let's go to A, zoom in, just clean this a little bit up, just take your time. Press the space bar, zoom out, zoom back in, just this little bit here, pull it up, alright, so from here, put the exposure back to normal, a bit of clarity. Can bring the blacks up just a little bit. I just want to make this a little bit more of a highlight. Bring the whites up a little. Shadows, I might come back to the shadows, give it a little bit of a highlight. Let's have a look, see what we're doing. Don't want to blow it out too much, don't want to make it look like it's been photoshopped in. Probably about there. I don't mind that. And then we could probably give it a little bit of dehaze as well. And just darken it around this area. And then I'm going to counterbalance that with the whites. Okay. I'm going to go new. This light here is just too bright for me. So I'm going to actually bring that down a little. Just not much, just a little. Not that much, you don't want to make it look unnatural. That's probably about it. New. I might just bring this wood out a little. Select with the color mask. We can expand our brush and just gives you the freedom to not have to painstakingly paint everything in. But in a minute I shall show you. If we hover over it, you'll see that it's also done up here. So let's just pull that back a little, and then we're also going to do the erase. and pull all this back like so. Alright, bring that back, and then we can pull out a bit more shadow. Bit more clarity. Now the problem, I've had quite a few people comment, and professional like art studio people, and they sort of go, the biggest problem with my photos is everything's in focus. So normally, like a photographer would look at this and they'd say, right, I'm going to focus on the bridge. And that is the main hero of the image. But then I come along and I make the bridge the hero, the pier the hero, the building the hero, and these towers the hero, and the sky the hero. And what happens then is the eye has got nowhere to go. Like it is just looking at the main image as a flat image. It's not actually focusing, and you don't get the eye trailing up through the image. So like for example with this image, you could quite easily, depending on who you are, everybody's different, but you could almost use this as a pier, as a leading line up to here, and then you notice the flag. So a person's eye may naturally draw in this way. So I'll see if I can give an example. If I do this, and we try to mimic where the eye is going to be going, and we invert it, and just give it that tiny little bit more clarity than everything else. And just try to make that more of a focus. And we don't want to go berserk because it still has to meet with everything else. I'll just try. I think the clarity and dehaze is pretty much all we'll only get out of that. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the photo done. And what I normally do is just a slight touch of vignetting, just to draw the eye in a little bit more. And it's not only going to be like a 5 or a 6. And then we export. I'll normally export, if I'm putting it up on Facebook, I'll normally do like a 70, or I'll limit the size to 4090. So 70, because it's not my photo, I obviously won't watermark it. And that is that. So that is the modified photo. I'm just waiting for the computer to catch up. So we've got modified photo, the original photo. So the other tip is to, if you want to do post-processing, it is actually better to take a darker image than it is to take a lighter image. So as you can see, we've been able to pull a lot of detail out on this darker image. But if we had the, there's Robert now having a whinge about what I've done to his photo. Yeah, it's easy to pull the detail out of the darks, but almost impossible to pull the detail out of the lights. So, yep, that's it. Alright, I'm going to go and see what Robert's had to say about what I've done, because I've sent him a snippet of what I'd actually done before, because as I said, this is the third time through because the recording didn't work correctly. So, thanks for watching.